The Honorable Minister of Information, Mr. Labaran Maku, my brother and my friend, the Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Information, Dr. Esan Yemisi, my own dear Permanent Secretary, Dr. Ezekiel Oyemomi, the MDs of Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria and Federal Housing Authority here present, directors from both ministries, the Ministry of Land, Housing and Urban Development and Ministry of Information, ladies and gentlemen of the press, distinguished Nigerians. I want to say good morning and once more join my colleague to welcome you to this ministerial platform. I'm barely 7 months old in office. Government is continuous. I came in to inherit the ministry, and I'm here today to tell Nigerians what the ministry has as a responsibility and what we've been able to put down in the past 7 months, in addition to what had been in existence. I want to welcome you once more. My ministry is Federal Ministry of Land, Housing and Urban Development. I'm here today to do a presentation with the following headlines. The background information of the ministry will be reflected, the mandate that we have, our vision and the mission statements. I'll talk about the structure of the ministry, the key achievements that we have made as a ministry from 2010 to 2014, the challenges that we have as a ministry, and then moving the housing sector forward, the things that we have done, and we'll get to the conclusion before we wrap up. As background information about the ministry, housing, as we all know, is universally accepted as the second most important thing for the human beings after food. As a result of this, the Nigerian Constitution made a very strong reflection there in the section 16(2)(d) of the 1999 Constitution, stating the fundamental objectives and the principles of state policy on how to direct the housing sector. Under the transformation agenda and the Vision 2020, the provision of accessible and affordable housing is one of the strategic national imperatives for guaranteeing the well-being and productivity of the citizenry, that's Nigerians. Accordingly, the Federal Ministry of Housing was established as a freestanding ministry in April 2010 as the institutional champion and national focal point for the realization of these strategic imperatives. The ministry, though we had housing at a time joined with works and at a time joined with environment, it came to stand on its own in 2010 as the Minister of Land, Housing and Urban Development. The ministry has as its mandate the development and implementation of enabling policies, programs, plans, and strategies, as well as enforcement of codes, regulations, and standards in the housing and urban development sector. They are the governance tools in the sector for ensuring effective land administration and management promoting equitable land access and wealth creation, as well as facilitating the provision of adequate and affordable homes and the development of productive, inclusive cities for Nigerians. The vision statement, housing delivery system, that is the main vision statement of the ministry. And to move this on, the ministry has as its mission statement to facilitate the provision of adequate and affordable housing for Nigerians. That's the main thing that we have to do. To ensure that this is done, the structure of the ministry is divided into 12 departments, 6 units. We have 37 field offices located in the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. Also, we have 2 parastatals, that's the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria and the Federal Housing Authority, and 5 major regulatory agencies that assist in the implementation of our policies. The ministry has, based on the vision statement and the mandate given to it, been working to ensure that the transformation agenda of Mr. President is fulfilled. And we've identified some major key achievements that the ministry has done to ensure that the deficit we have in the housing sector is covered up for Nigerians. Among the key achievements that we've made so far in the ministry, from July 2010 to date, the first one has to do with the 2 national policies that we have put in place, namely the National Housing Policy and the National Urban Development Policy. It's been developed by the ministry, involving all the key stakeholders in the built environment. All the key stakeholders were brought in, and we put our heads together, argued to ensure that what will come up as the final policy was what would be accepted by the sector. As regards the national land policy, a 0 draft has been developed by the Ministerial Committee on National Land Policy. It has been presented to the top management of the ministry, as well as the various professional and regulatory bodies under the ministry to also vote. An interministerial committee has been constituted to work with a consultant to further enrich the 0 draft national land policy, which will be considered at a stakeholders validation workshop that we're planning to have the first quarter of 2015. Another key achievement of the ministry is the review of the National Building Code. The National Building Code, which was first published in 2006 and reviewed in 2013 by the National Building Code Advisory Committee, was again revalidated just a month ago, with corrections done. What was omitted in the earlier one printed was added because of the changes we have in our technology. The revised National Building Code has been finalized as one of the enabling instruments for ensuring quality and enhancing standards in the housing and urban development sector. The importance of the National Building Code that we've succeeded in reviewing is to help us ensure that whatever structure that comes up in Nigeria, not only the one done by government, even the private sector, meets up the standard and the quality that we are looking for to avoid the collapse of buildings that we are facing in the nation. On approval by the Federal Executive Council, the Ministry will champion the process of ensuring compliance with its provisions through proper enforcement by the three tiers of government. When the building code eventually gets the approval through FREC, it's not only going to be implemented here by the federal ministry, it will go down to the state level so that whatever is done here will ensure that at the rural level, at the state level, at the local government level, it is also implemented. On approval by, the House of Representatives has commenced the process of enacting a law to enforce the provisions of the National Building Code in the Federal Capital Territory. In consonance with Sections 1, 2, and 3 of the Code, all the states of the Federation are expected to domesticate the proposed act of the National Assembly in their respective states to ensure effective implementation. Again, another major achievement of the ministry is that of the development of a roadmap for the housing sector. A draft roadmap for the housing and urban development sector has been developed by the ministry in consultation with all relevant stakeholders. It was reviewed on 10th July, just barely 3 months ago, at an enlarged meeting of the management of the ministry and the ministerial experts group. The draft roadmap was further reviewed, consolidated for implementation. In the process of finalization of the roadmap, a 5-stage approach is to be adopted. The roadmap that has come up will follow different stages, the 5 different stages for its effective implementation. And the stages, 1 is the adoption of the roadmap by the National Council on Land, Housing and Urban Development. The National Council is coming up in December. That will be presented, and as soon as that is approved by the National Council,